27 years of age as an individual who has conducted 3 armed robberies, 2 at a smoke shop and 1 at the Marathon gas station in the Plant City and Brandon area. This individual, due to his violent and lengthy criminal history and the violent nature of his recent crimes, we had asked and solicited help from the Bureau of ATF that has a task force which one of the members of the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office is a part of, and their job is to locate and apprehend the worst of the worst. Today, matter of fact, this morning, before we come into contact with Francisco Cabrera about 11:30 this morning at the Wendy's parking lot at Alexander Road and I-4, around 11:30 this morning, we are confident he also committed 2 additional violent criminal acts, and he violently, again armed with a firearm, committed 2 armed carjackings this morning alone. At some point when he's in the Wendy's parking lot, he identifies this task force that's made up of members of ATF and a Hillsborough County Sheriff's deputy. And to evade and elude arrest, begins to flee. As he exits onto Alexander Road and approaching that entrance ramp to I-4, he turns around and fires a firearm trying to kill deputies and the task force member simply to evade and elude arrest. He then travels and continues onto the entrance ramp on the I-4. Interstate 4, as well-traveled of a road as we know Interstate 4 is, with little to zero disregard for anyone's life but his own, he again discharges that firearm in an attempt to kill this task force and a deputy, simply with the intent of, I'm not ready to go to jail yet. He continues traveling eastbound on Interstate 4, exits here at the city of Lakeland at County Line Road, continues south, where he then turns eastbound on another well-traveled roadway, and that's Highway 92. Look behind me. You want to talk about potential lives that could have been affected by this violent offender? Thousands of individuals work right behind where we are here today for public superstores. Imagine the individuals' lives that could have been placed in fear, injured, or even killed. Thankfully, we put out a call for help. The men and women, with the assistance of Chief Garcia, immediately answer that call for help, put their own lives in peril, conduct a pit maneuver on this armed violent offender, and begin to box him in, and are able to box him in, and immediately order this individual, this resistant and combative individual, to exit the car. He continues to act the same way that he has throughout this pursuit in its entirety, and he has gone below the dash and coming up and discharging his firearm as he was in the pursuit. Well, he continues the same actions here, going down and coming back up. Well, as you could imagine, that more than enough is enough to put this City of Lakeland police officer, this ATF agent, and this member of the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office lives in fear, not knowing if he's getting ready to use that firearm once again. They discharged the firearm, but that doesn't stop this combative subject as they approach the car, hoping to render aid to this individual and take this violent offender into custody before he's able to inflict any injury or pain into anyone else in this community, is still being combative. As they remove him from the car, he's so combative that even after being shot, he has to be tasered. He's still being combative. Luckily, there's enough individuals and law enforcement here on scene that were finally able to overpower this subject and finally place him into custody. Chief Garcia, please, on behalf of every member here at the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, please thank every person, every law enforcement, men or woman in your department for what they did here today. There's no doubt, and we are grateful, that this individual will now be prosecuted in Polk County, where this individual will never ever have the opportunity to inflict pain or cause fear in another member in either of our communities. I'm able to confirm we did recover a semi-automatic handgun here at the scene, and at this time, wishing that an independent body conduct the investigation that led up to the events here today. Special Agent in Charge Mark Brutnell and members of the Florida Department of Law Enforcement will conduct the investigation, that independent investigation into the actions here today. I am able to confirm that our suspect, Francisco Cabrera, was rendered first aid, and the task force member, the Lakeland police officers, and the deputy sheriff did a great job. As soon as that individual was placed into custody, began rendering first aid until paramedics could be here and take this individual who was severely injured to the Lakeland Regional Medical Center, where I've just received notice that he's in surgery and is in stable condition. At this time, I'll turn the microphone over to the Chief Garcia, the chief with the Lakeland Police Department. Chief?
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon. We certainly come to you today, and we're thankful that no citizens were injured in this. None of our police officers were injured in it. Today, these officers were called on to do what we expect them to do every day. But today was that day they were called on to do that. And we're certainly thankful that they were able to come out of that unscathed. The suspect's been taken into custody. Great potential at many locations for our citizens to be in danger and jeopardy, but the professional actions of these officers kept that from happening. So we just couldn't be more thankful for the actions that they took today. And you know, that's the actions they're willing to take every day for every citizen here. So again, we're just certainly thankful for them. Very grateful for the teamwork with the sheriff's office as it came across the county lines and we were able to work and bring this guy into custody. Thank you. All three of the officers mentioned were involved in the shooting, yes.
I can clarify that was a Lakeland police officer, a Hillsborough County Sheriff's deputy, and a member with the Bureau of ATF. The three of those individuals were forced to discharge their service firearms here today. At this time, the chief and I will be more than willing to take any type of questions. Not that we're aware of. Again, as this still unfolds, we're still confirming that. If anyone in the public has a vehicle that had been struck, at this time we hadn't been notified. We hadn't received any 911 calls, and so far everyone involved, neither them nor their vehicle, thank goodness, was struck here today. These robberies occurred over the past couple weeks. So the past couple weeks, he had been on our radar. Funny story, as criminals decide to be criminals, he thought he would evade capture by painting his car. So the car you see back here, our suspect car, he painted the car but didn't take it all the way as he was trying to elude arrest and kept the same tag on the car. So as task force members are looking around the Brandon and Plant City area, ended up finding his car and locating his car today. They did a wonderful job as it unraveled. So the past couple of weeks they did a diligent job of immediately identifying as this individual who committed these offenses, and then started looking into his criminal history. This is an individual that's no stranger to being violent towards anyone in this community. No doubt in my mind, this individual had to be stopped by any means necessary today before he had the ability to inflict pain, serious injury, or even death to anyone else in this community. I don't know. We're still following up on that. We can confirm that he was the person involved in at least one. We're pretty confident he was in the second one, but we're working through those details. I would probably be irresponsible if I commented any further than that right now. We don't. We know several. We don't know how many. The firearms have been recovered. We don't know how many rounds it holds. We haven't done a search warrant yet inside the car to determine if there's additional magazines that he fired. That will have to be determined again by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement as they conduct this latent investigation from this point forward. His criminal history, he was wanted for at least 8 felony charges. He has 2 prior felony convictions. 7 misdemeanor charges, multiple drug violations, violations of parole, domestic battery arrest, and at least 1 aggravated battery with a deadly weapon. That's his criminal history. Yeah, great question. He's the violent individual we were looking for. Thank God for the safety in this community, that every law enforcement put their lives in danger today to make sure that this individual never has the ability to harm another individual in either one of our communities. I'm sorry with the helicopter, you just have to speak up. The charges here today, working through it, at least we know for sure we have 3 attempt murder of law enforcement officers, along with the fleeing, the eluding, felony in possession of a firearm, several other felony charges, but at least those, but we will release those. As we're done here, our public information officers will get his criminal history to you, charges, any type of evidence that we have, we'll get out to you here immediately. Thank you, everyone.